Good morning. My name is Richard Wisher, and today we're going to finish and complete the space bug project that we started last week. So last week I showed you how to start the project off, and this week I'll try and go through it and show you how to finish it. So finishing and completion is really important. So this time we go into shapes. We choose a cylinder, or a sphere rather, not a sphere. And then if I then color that sphere red, so we know it's red, and I want to render it. So I've got a sphere here that's radius 10. So you can see in here that you can see the sphere. And the first thing we want to do is we can actually scale. We now want to scale it. So we do a transform here, and we find scale. So this is effectively putting a control loop around this sphere, which allows us to scale it. And the scaling is, if I do just a small change, so change the y to 1.2, then what you should just about see, it won't be that obvious, but if we can just about see, is that I've now changed it slightly. Not too much, we just moved it up slightly. The next bit is I've then got to flatten the base of the body. So what we do is I'm following the instructions on another screen, and that's really what you've got to do here. So now we do, to flatten the base of the body, we want to, this is a tricky one. What we do is we put a square block underneath the sphere, and then we make it disappear. When it disappears, it's still there, but it's cut the sphere into half. So this is what we're doing. So now it's a construction mechanism. So now if we do a cube, so we do a shape, we want a cube, and the cube we want to do a translate. So it's a transform, a translate. And then also around the translate, we want to color. So that means that everything within this loop is then of this color. And the translation we want to do is the Z we want to do -5, because this time we want to actually put it below the baseline or the base plane of where you can see the sphere on the right hand side. And the cube we want is a 50 by 10. So 50 along the X, 50 along the Y, and then 10. And everything ready to go. So now if I now render that, what you'll now see is a square block comes up underneath the, no, that didn't come up underneath. So what did we do wrong there? So we want 50, 50, 10, and we want 0, 0, -5. Okay, so it's all right. It's not quite in the right place. So let's, so why did that do that? Let's do centered. That might be what the issue is. When I render that. Nice, that's exactly right. So I had to put in the centered part on this right hand side here. So what I now need to do is I need to use the difference construct. So let's just, what I'll do now is I'll just put a focus mouse so you can actually see. So what I now need to do is I now need to put a difference. So it's a set ops, and it's a difference. So I bring that difference function down there, block. I want to do the scale bit at the top. I want to bring the other one to the bottom. So what I've now got is I've got this difference block. Now what I now want to do, so this is that top block minus this bottom block. So in other words, if I now take away the block or subtract it and then try rendering it, So you can now see the rendering is now cut this sphere in two. One of the things I had on here, which means it takes a little bit longer, is I used high smoothness. High smoothness means a lot of processing power, so let's reduce that a bit. It just will make life a bit quicker. So the next bit is I now need to produce the head for your bug. So the head for the bug is again, we need the same sort of thing. We need a smaller sphere. We need to scale it, and then we need to do the union thing again. So if I do 3D, so we take, what we can do here is let's take the two, if I do this and duplicate, and then it gives me another block the same. So that's where I want to start. And I want to scale that at x equals 1, y equals 1.2, and z equals 0.8. So 0.8. And the sphere of radius 10. And then we want to do a union. So transform is then a union. Setups. It's a setups, isn't it? So it's then a union. And it's, this one is now plus, it's a sphere. So shape is then sphere. And scale is scale it. So transform, scale, or union. How's the transform? So scale. Where's the scale? There we are, scale. Just couldn't see it there for a second. So now bring that across and put it down here. And 0.8, y equals 0.8. And radius of 6. So if I now put that together, and then I want to put a difference around that. So what I do is I put this one into, well, let's just see what this looks like. So if I now render that, no. No, not quite working. So let's try. You take this one out, put this new construct back in here, and we move this one out here. So we'll see what that does. So now we render that. Now what we've actually got is we've got the block inside the block. We've created two blocks, one inside the other. So if I now do this one here, so if I get rid of this bigger one, so if I right click on this and disable the block, that's just temporarily getting rid of it. So if I now render that again, you can now see I've got the far smaller sphere underneath that. So let's get one back. So if I do right click and enable block. Now what we have to do now is to move the smaller block out. And the way we do that is we do So we need to scale the x-axis so it sticks out of the body. So we've got a, so this bottom one here, we now need to put a transform, which is a scaling or we have a scale. We need to do a translate. So we put a transform in here. We do a translate, which is this one here. Put it down here, and bring this across in. And what we've got to do is we've got to move the head 10, because if you remember, the radius of the body is 10. So if we translate that 10 along the y-axis, we actually bring the head out from underneath the body. So now if we now render that, it's hidden, but it's around the back. You can see the head there coming out. So that's how we got our bug and our body. So one of the things that we've got to do now is just to change the head to black so we can see what we're doing. That's one of the big things on this, is that you've actually got to think about, what do I need to do to make it visible and workable? So what we need to do, the second one, is we've got we need to put color code in there. So we take that out and we transform and we put a color code in. So the color is yellow. Put the color code in there. Bring that back in here and then change that to black, like that. So now if we render that, so we've now got a black head on a body. So we're now getting somewhere. So we've had a few issues as we've been moving through this, but now we move on to what I think is quite one of the interesting ones, which is the legs. So on the legs, if I do what I do here is, if I move that up, now with a leg I want to add another object to the main body. So if I do a plus here, it creates another hole for me to put some stuff in. And here I want to do black legs. So I want a color. So the color is black. I change this to black. And then I want to put in the scaling. So transform, scale. Oh no, it's not transform, it's a setups. Scale, I did a scale. Just remembering where all these things are hidden in, where the blocks are hidden in, what libraries and where they sit. And then we want to do a sphere. So 3D shape is a sphere. So we do a sphere there, and just to make sure the things are right. So to make this from a sphere into something a bit funnier shaped, we need to scale it. So the radius is 13. The scale is 1.3 and 0.3. So this is turning it into a sphere, but a sort of slightly reformulated sphere. So it's a bit like a tube, which come here. So if we now render that, so we have two legs starting to poke out. So we've got two legs. Now that is like this object here is like a sphere, but it's quite extruded. It's quite extended. What I need to now do is put two of the legs on. So in other words, one leg, if I put another one through there and another one through there, we'll have 6 legs sticking out. So if I now do that, so I want to then do a plus here and another plus. So I want 3 of these. I then want 3 of these. So if I duplicate that and put it in there, and I duplicate that again and put it in there. So you can see here I've now got 3 legs, but they're all exactly the same position, which is not really what I want. And the way we change them is that we do so let's do, well, hang on, it suggests here that we just do disable the, let's just disable the body which I think would be quite a useful thing. So let's just do the body. So if we go up here and we do a right click and we disable it or disable the block and then render it, you can now see what I'm talking about underneath. So this is the two options. This is the piece that actually creates the leg. So let's put this back and then enable the block. And enable the block. Now let's just change the scales on these. So if you think we need to put a rotate around this one and a rotate around this one. So we do a transform, which is a rotate. And that's around that one there. So that goes in there. Then that one goes in there. And I want to do another rotate. It's another transform. I'll rotate. Put that rotate in there. Put that radius in there. So now what we've got is two rotations. And the rotations we want are on the Z, which is the horizontal one. We want to turn it that way. So we want to turn it that way. So we do rotate. Z is 30 degrees, a 30-degree rotation here. So put in 30. And you can see there's a little indicator that helps us with that. And then on here, we want to do a Z, but here we don't want 30 degrees. We want, oh, sorry, that's the scaling. Let's do the Z. So it's 30 if we go right, and it's 360 minus 30, so it's 330. If I do that. So now, if we now render, and there we have a bug. So let's zoom in on this one a bit. So now we have, we've only got two legs. So one of the legs is missing. So why is that? Well, do you know why that is? I think I know. It's because we've actually got this bottom one constructed incorrectly. So what we need to do is we need to take that out. We need to take that out, put that back in. And I want to put the scaling around the rotation around the scale. So move that into, I just got them in the wrong order. So I'll put that in there, then put that in there. So now if I now do it, so now render it. So there we are. So there we have our bug, and we have 6 legs on the bug. So that's good. What I'd like to show you now, just move my head around, is having created the bug, I now need to be able to save it. So if I now save the bug, I've called it bug 1, but let's not call it bug 1. Let's call it bug 2. And then save bug 2. So that's bug 2 saved. And then what I can then do is I can then generate the STL file, which is a file that you need to be able to produce, that can then produce your 3D print. So this is like printing it to a file, which can then do a 3D print. So it's now downloaded that. So I now have the bug in my computer all saved. So that is the project completed. And on these projects, it's really important to finish it complete. And we've achieved that today. So just a reminder, we create the body of the bug. We produce a base below it, which actually then gives us a false floor, if you like, but it's still there. That shows just the half sphere. We then put a head on. We change the color of the head to black so that we can see it. And then we put in 3 legs. And the way we do 3 legs is we've got an extended sphere. And then we move that 30 degrees one way and then 30 degrees the other way. So that produces our 3 legs. So we now have a bug. So well done, and we'll see you next week.